Hi, this is Dan Gilvazan, and you're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Jazz here, and I am so digging the Geekcast Radio Network.
Cliffjumper, commence countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, Toycast. Oh, yes. Listen in to the only toy podcast you will ever need.
Hello and welcome to an all-new generation of Toycast as we get the origins of any and all toy fans that we can. I'm, of course, TFGMike, and today's featured guest is someone you've heard before here on the Geekcast Radio Network. We got his Transformers origins a little while ago, but today's featured guest is the number one Beast Wars fan, the Cybertronian Beast, Darryl from the Transmissions Podcast. Hi, Darryl. How are you? I know that's a loaded question right now.
Hey, I'm good. I'm very well now. How's it going with you?
It's going. Sometimes I wish it would stop, but it's going. All right, we are going to be talking toys here on Toycast with the origins. 42 questions, all about toy collecting. What is or was the first toy you remember having as a kid?
Oh, man. Boy, oh boy.
You think that question's difficult? They only get even more difficult after this.
I have a very early memory of Lego.
Okay.
I have a vivid memory of sitting down on the floor in my living room, sorting it by color.
Right.
So, yeah. If and I have I still own a plastic train set. That was one of my very first toys. That I mean, obviously, we all had stuffed animals and shit like that. But
yeah.
But yeah, I have this train set that later on in life, I asked my mother where I got it from, and she said, "Well, my parents brought it back for me from Paris. It was bought for me in Paris." So yeah, so it's it stayed in the family for a long time.
Wow, very cool, very cool. Was there? So you mentioned your mom and your parents. Was there a particular adult who was supportive of you playing with toys as a kid? Was there anyone who was unsupportive?
No, not really. I mean, all through my childhood, I had all kinds of different toys, and there was a varying degree. I mean, we all went through different stages, I guess. The vast amount of my childhood was probably taken up with Transformers, and then as you do, it did progress into. I very clearly remember the transition for me going into Ninja Turtles after Transformers. So yeah, there was really no person trying to direct me in any particular way, but it was really it was a really welcoming kind of childhood for me for that, a very creative space as well.
Well, that's good. That's awesome. What types of toys were your favorites to play with? So, action figures, card games, Play-Doh, silly putty, that kind of stuff.
Maybe until I didn't really get into card games until I was in my teens. And that, I mean, when I was in high school, I got introduced to Magic the Gathering, and I really kind of, took off from there. But when I was younger, I remember when I was 10, I was given a Nintendo Entertainment System for Christmas, and that was kind of to kind of kind of, I don't know, I guess greased the wheels with me and of course my brother, because my mother was about to get remarried, so it was kind of like a little a little way to say, hey, here's something to kind of take you away while I take your mother away, kind of a deal. So
oh jeez.
So it worked. I was 10. I was an idiot, but
yeah.
But it was video games kind of they were introduced to me at that point. I never had an Atari. I did know a couple kids who had the Atari, and they were fun, I guess. But the Nintendo really changed the game.
Yeah, it did. It essentially ended the video game downturn from all the Atari. 1983 was a bad year for video games. What were your favorite? You mentioned Transformers, you mentioned Turtles. So what were your favorite childhood toys that really stood out more than most of the other stuff?
I mean, as a Transformers fan still, it was always Transformers. Even after I got out of Transformers and into Turtles, and there was a point in there where Mask kind of got in there a bit.
Yep.
It always came back to Transformers. I always had a box of Transformers. Even after I moved out and moved in with my girlfriend, who eventually became my wife, I always had a box of Transformers. So it was always Transformers. And I mean, the box of Transformers, it got smaller and smaller as, I focused down to like characters and figures I wanted to make sure I always had. But there was always a Transformer in the house at some point.
Very cool. Very cool. Do you prefer the label of action figures, dolls, toys, or other labels?
I mean, they're action figures, I guess. They're really just, I mean, toys is an all-encompassing term for everything. I mean, it includes dolls. My brother actually collects dolls. He has an incredible collection. It's an extremely impressive collection of a toy line called Cherry Mary Muffin from back in the 80s. And he has, I think the series only ran 3 years, and I think he has every single figure sealed. And
oh wow,
it's got to be one of the most impressive collections I've seen of any toy line. And he always used to like the toys when he was a kid, and now he's gotten to the point where he can own all the figures. And yeah, so I mean, are those dolls? Are those toys? I mean, they're tiny little action figures, I guess, of these things. They're not plush, right? But are they dolls? They're girls' toys, are they? But he's a boy. Well, it's a whole
toys,
thing, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And the point of that is because, and I say this in every episode, is that because when we were all kids, it could be a G.I. Joe, it could be a Transformer, it could be a Mask, hell, it could be a Captain Planet action figure. Billy's going to go play with his dolls. They're not doll. Like, the way I always say, anything 6 inches or under is a action figure toy. Anything over 12 inches is a doll. Like, unless it's a Hot Toys thing or something. I don't know. Those things are whatever.
Oh, see, now that's you're breaking your own rule now.
I know. That's what we do around here. We always have the glass shatter sometimes. Good guys or bad guys? Which toys were your favorites to play with the most?
I think I always gravitated to the good guys. They always had more story. Sure, the bad guys definitely looked cooler, but the good guys were always on the screen more, and that's who I would always gravitate to. They always had more toys too. The good guys generally always had more toys.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed when I had my old Masters collection back in the day, it was about even. There were at least 5 good guys and 5 that was the thing back in the 80s with Masters and with a few other things. They wanted, if you're buying if you get 10 figures out of whatever line it is, they wanted to teach you, oh, it should be even, it should be this, it should be that, and eventually the bad guys sometimes would outnumber the good guys and vice versa. But yeah, I mean, the good guys were the ones you were supposed to use as the role models, not the bad guys, because that's how you end up in jail, folks. Don't do that. What is or was your favorite toy vehicle or playset?
A vehicle. That's a good question, because
technically Transformers don't count.
Transformers, they're vehicles, right? But they I don't really count them.
Yeah, no.
I've always had a soft spot, and I'm not a G.I. Joe fan, but I fucking love that killer whale from G.I. Joe.
Oh,
I always wanted it as a kid, and when I grew up and had money and I bought one. So I own a 100% complete G.I. Joe killer whale, and it's awesome. It's so awesome. So yeah, it's just one of the greatest vehicles I've, of all time. And sure, yeah, I would have loved to have had the USS Flag, but who has the space for that? So, I take the one of the smaller ones, and I go with the killer whale because it's just so awesome. And because
plus it's a hovercraft,
it's a hovercraft. Yeah. And because I don't have it in the box, I have it out, and it's I thought, you know what, I'm gonna look at the box art, and I'm gonna buy all the guys that are in the box or in the box art picture, and I'm gonna put them in it. So yeah, all the figures that are on the box art I have in this killer whale. So I think there's like 4 grunts in it. So I have 4 grunts, and then I have all the like named G.I. Joes, which off the top of my head I cannot remember who's in it, but they're all there. I bought them all.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, I'm just now looking at it. All as they list, at least on the file card with the one that I'm seeing here, they just list him as hovercraft pilot. Like, they don't list him as an actual named.
But on the front of the box art, there's like 4 guys in the
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't remember who it is, but it's there's a bunch. I had to buy like 9 guys for this thing, so it was cool.
Yeah, this thing is awesome. Hovercrafts were a big thing back then. I mean, they were everywhere. Did you and your friends ever pretend with your toys that you had? By this, I mean, did you say, I'm going to be this toy and you can be that toy and blah, blah, blah? Like, you can be the Coke bottle top and your brother can be the piece of glass or something.
Oh, okay. I don't think so.
Okay.
My brother and I, we really didn't get along too well when we were kids. I'm the oldest, so I used to beat the hell out of him.
Oh no!
But we're good friends now. But it's the relationship was pretty strained when we were younger, and I mean, when with me and my friends, we didn't really do that kind of stuff either. I know that my cousin and I, we used to play Transformers a bit, but we would just, we used to bring our characters, our figures over, to each other's houses and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, we really didn't do all that kind of stuff. No.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. What features define a good toy to you? How true does the item feel in comparison to the source material likeness?
I mean, as far as action figures go, I need a head sculpt to be kind of, at least look like the character it's depicting. With Transformers, the transformation needs to be, somewhat intriguing. It needs to, at least make me think a little bit. It can't just fold the guy in half and you're done. And, I don't generally, mind it if there's soft goods involved on any kind of action figure. It's it always makes for an interesting higher quality thing, and articulation. It needs to any kind of action figure or toy or something like that needs to be able to pull off a decent pose, and probably at this point in time in my collecting, almost 50% of my collection is still in box. So the packaging needs to be pretty, dynamic. So it needs to, if it's going to stay in its packaging, it's got to look good in it. So yeah. Some of the newest stuff from Hasbro coming out right now with the the windowless packaging or the no window packaging, it looks good, but I sometimes want to see the figure inside too. So, yeah.
Okay, since you mentioned that, let me ask you this, and I talked about this in a recent episode because this episode actually won't be out until beginning of November. I've recorded stuff ahead, folks. So anyway, let me ask you this. With Hasbro specifically and the windowless boxes and the closed box and this, that, and the other thing and everything else, what really do you think, in your personal opinion, what part of the environment do you think they are saving from removing the window part when the rest of the actual toy is plastic?
That's a good point. It's just, it's delaying the inevitable, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you are throwing away the packaging right away, mm-hmm. then obviously you're not recycling the plastic, but you can't really recycle the toy, so I guess they're just trying to avoid any kind of plastic ending up in the landfill, because the toy will eventually end up in the landfill. Everything's going to end up in some kind of landfill eventually. Mm-hmm. But it's a small move, and they, I guess, got to make it. They got to show some kind of willingness to change. It's something. I don't know. I get more frustrated with the pictures of the headless figures than anything.
Yes,
I guess I applaud Hasbro for rolling with this and kind of saying, okay, well, if you're going to tear their heads off, then we're going to package them in alt mode then. Because I personally prefer them packaged in alt mode because it forces people to transform them when you open them.
Yeah.
So, and if I am going to open it, then I gotta at least do something with it. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I understand Hasbro at some point in their infinite wisdom decided to change from packaging in robot mode, or from packaging in alt mode to robot mode. But the thing is, when we were kids, that was the point. You're advertising it as a vehicle that transforms into a robot. So you get it, to my knowledge, almost every single Transformers toy, the original G1 toys, Soundwave came in cassette mode, Blaster came in cassette mode, Megatron came in gun mode, Optimus came in truck, because you're trying to, the robot is the exciting part, I can take this truck and turn it into this giant red idiot that got himself killed? Come on, that's cool. Now you're just ruining it. Talk about spoilers. You're just ruining the surprise by packaging in robot mode.
Yeah, just looking. I can turn around and look at the few packaged G1s that I have on my shelf behind me, mm-hmm. and there's only two that I can see that I own that are packaged in robot mode. And that's Top Spin and Twin Twist. They were
yes, because Top Spin and Twin the jump starters, because they were packaged in robot mode because of their gimmick and because they had the image of the that was the thing. You have to take that. The surprise of that was, okay, yes, they're in their robot mode, but the point is you transform them or you fold them down and then you just pull it back and then let it go and it jump starts and does the transformation for you. So I can kind of see why those two were, but everything mm-hmm. else,
sure.
I don't know. So you mentioned stuff about toy packaging and what is, you said, for you it has to be a dynamic. So what does toy packaging have to you go into, let's pretend this is when toy stores were still around, like a Toys R Us or a KB Toys.
We have Toys R Us still here in Canada, so yeah, sure.
Lucky you.
With Toys R Us.
Yeah, lucky you, Canadians. Well, then again, Canada does have the greatest rock band of all time in Nickelback, but that's just me. All right, anyway. Hey, the new album's coming out. I can't help but bring it up in almost every podcast, so get rolling, folks.
Thought you'd say Rush, but okay.
Okay, well, yes, technically it would be Rush, because I don't think anybody would vote Tom Sawyer. Or is that the song? Never mind. Anyway,
that is
Canada. Toys R Us. Okay, so
Toys R Us, yep.
Toys R Us. You walk in, you go to whatever, like the Transformers aisle, whatever aisle, let's just say the Transformers aisle. You see 7 different packages. What does the package have to have? Like, you pick one out of those 7. What does that box or that bubble, whatever, have to make you go to that particular one over the other 6?
Discount sticker.
Really? Come on.
We can talk about it later, but the pricing on toys right now is driving me nuts.
Yeah.
But as far as dynamic packaging, the colors, some of the the packaging, as far as packaging right now with Transformers packaging, the buzzworthy Bumblebee packaging is just, it bores the hell out of me. So I mean, I don't think I own a single buzzworthy Bumblebee toy. It's just sorry, I do. I own one. I own one of the small little bees, the one that kind of look like Bumble Jumper. But it's so the Velocitron, the Speedia 500 stuff that's Walmart exclusive. That's some pretty dynamic packaging. It looks good. It's bright. It's blue, boxes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They stand out on the shelf. The retro stuff that Walmart just announced during their Walmart Con or Collector Con or whatever the hell they want to call it, where they're reissuing the G1 toys of so far of Hot Rod and Starscream, and they're coming in windowless packaging, but the boxes are incredibly colorful with some really great art from Marcelo Mater on it. Those boxes will sell just because of the art on those. So it's really quite nice. Yeah, so some of those are really quite popular looking, and as far as the other boxes, I mean, some of like the shapes, like they've gone to this kind of like geometric design, and it's cool. It doesn't stack very nicely, so if you're an inbox collector, it kind of sucks. But they're neat. Yeah, I mean, they've done some really good stuff. The legacy, the colors for this current legacy line are really quite nice. Yeah, I mean, I like the way this stuff looks. It's there is some current some really nice stuff with the way that they're being designed right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And the buzzworthy Bumblebee line, you're right, man. This packaging is just kind of like I'm looking at the Worlds Collide 5-pack. Okay, it's a 5-pack. It's got a window. It's okay. You can at least see the figures that are inside, but the rest of the packaging is the same because it's under the buzzworthy Bumblebee line. It's the same yellow packaging and whatever else. I think the coolest one for me is actually Bumblebee himself, the Origins Bee, the original Cybertronian Bee one, because at least you see him in the thing, and then you see the various art from the show kind of thing. So that's cool. But I mean, it's too much yellow when you have I'm looking at the Optimus Prime Bumblebee Megatron Starscream 4-pack, and it's like, that's at least put a black background on the inside. Like, I understand they're trying to go with this honeycomb look, but no. Don't do that. But yeah, like you said, the packaging has to have something to draw you in. It has to be dynamic. It has to be like you're saying with Marcelo's art. Oh man, I would buy that hot rod just for the box. Like there's this ever since 1986, there has been this debate over what color hot rod actually is, and everybody's like, "Ooh, a pink hot rod," and I'm just like, "Oh God, give me a break."
And just to just kind of put a cap on the packaging stuff, the I've been kind of collecting, not all of them, but most of them, the collaborative line, and the packaging on those has just been phenomenal.
Yeah.
So we've got Ectotron and Gigawatt in the kind of G1-esque packaging, and then with the Tyrannicon Rex in the Jurassic Park Transformers packaging, the Top Gun in the completely different looking kind of Top Gun packaging, and then you've got the Expanse in the X-Men animated series kind of packaging, and and then you've got this Dracula one. So it's got this, it's like this VHS tape, you kind of slide it out of its own case. It's very clever package. There's some really cool packaging ideas out there, that are happening within the Transformers line. And I mean, I don't really collect a lot of other stuff right now, as far as toys go.
Yeah.
But, there are some really neat packaging ideas out there, to kind of draw you in as far as, just to buy the thing off the shelf.
Yeah, absolutely. They're, like you said, the collaborative stuff, man, that is amazing. I love the way that Top Gun package looks. And like you said, the X-Men package, I mean, come on. It's, and even though I'm not a Jurassic Park person, the way they have that packaged is really, really fun. I think that's super cool.
Yeah, it's genius. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. So you mentioned that you are a closed, you don't necessarily open your toys, but do you have toys that you do have open and out of the packaging?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I've got hundreds of toys, and there are lots of them that I still have unopened, but I've opened a number of them. So, I've got lots and lots of them opened here in my studio here.
Oh, cool. So with the ones that you keep packaged, do you have a specific criteria for that kind of thing?
Well, it's getting more and more of a bit of a pattern that I generally just kind of leave the mainline stuff in the boxes, not because it's not worth opening. It's just that I get bored with it. I'm just, they do a lot of the same kind of things over and over again. And it's just like, okay, well, that's another one of those. And, do I need to actually, check that one out? Okay, well, I'm much more excited about this Legend Scale Devastator or Legend Scale, figure that I just bought, or a Masterpiece scaled this and that I just bought, or this, Moon Studio Raiden that I just put together, or something like that. Like this, these kind of things that are just, bonkers, that I'm just, kind of obviously also spending a lot more money on, that I really want to experience, rather than the mainline. So yeah, I'm buying, mainline still, but I am much more excited about the stuff coming from third party.
So if you're not excited about the main line, do you feel like you're missing out if you don't purchase mainline stuff? If you're not excited about it?
No, yeah, really? For sure. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes. So for example, the Netflix Bumblebee that came out, that was almost impossible to find, I never got one. So, and that was kind of the first symbol to me that they're doing something that is making mainline more exclusionary. Mm-hmm. So I was lucky enough to be able to find a Netflix Soundwave. Actually, my brother found it. He was at a Walmart and he came across it, and I said, "You better pick that up for me." And he did. So I got, I was able to get that. And then after a while, I was like, okay, well, if I can't get Netflix Bumblebee, then, this is going to become a lot more difficult to actually collect mainline, because the main characters, are getting, harder and harder to find, or, they're getting, I'm going to have to pay scalper prices, which I'm not doing. Yeah. So, and then I had this, and then the last kind of straw that broke the camel's back was, I had a pre-order down for the Conehead 2-pack on Amazon that, and this happened to every single person in Canada. We all had it down, on the pre-order for Amazon, and we all kept this pre-order for a year, and then Amazon canceled every single Canadian's pre-order. What? Because they obviously they couldn't get the product, so they just canceled all the pre-orders. Jesus. So nobody in Canada got it unless they actually came about it some other way. Yeah. Now that kind of screwed everybody. So now I'm out Bumblebee, which is a main like a top 4 character. Yeah. Right. I had Soundwave, but I'm now on the fence of whether I'm going to keep him or not, because I can't find Bumblebee, and I can't get the Coneheads. So I'm like, okay, well, what am I doing here with the mainline? Am I going to keep running mainline? And yeah, I'm going to run mainline, but I'm not going to chase it as hard as I am, anything else, because it's getting too exhausting, right? And and with everybody having their own exclusives, it's getting much more difficult. So, while I was on, I eventually did sell the Soundwave because it was going for like $200 or something like that. I was like, well, I'd be stupid not to sell this thing. Yeah. And so I did. So now I don't have Soundwave anymore, but there's a new one coming out. So I'm like, whatever. They're always going to make another one. That's the thing about Transformers, is there's going to be another Bumblebee. There's going to be another Soundwave, and the Conehead 2-pack appears like it's coming back in December. So, that's something that's happening. But while on vacation this year, we were driving around, and I thought, while we're driving to all these, desolate little shit towns that I'm going into, we're going to check out these Walmarts and see if I can find a Cosmos. And I did. I found a Cosmos. So I'm like, okay, well, hey, maybe I can find one of these things. But the fact that I'm still here in, my town and nobody can find a freaking Cosmos is just a sign that, this is still a big problem. I just lucked out and nobody can find these things. So, I don't like the state that Transformers is in right now with this exclusive, character set for stores, and then even with these exclusive characters being, one packed or single packed to things like that. It's making collecting really, really difficult. And yeah, I'm really not happy with the state that the things are in right now. So that's why, I pivot to third party and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes the third party stuff that they do is stuff Hasbro may never get to or may never do at all, And
well, that was the conversation we had a long time ago with regards to Tarn. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. And then
Tarn was the poster boy for that conversation.
And quite literally, for next year's line, he is the poster boy for Hasbro.
That's right. They said, well, you said we wouldn't do it. Well, guess what, motherfuckers? We're going to do Tarn. So it's, and that's been a big thing, right? Well, okay, so now they're going to do Tarn. Well, are they going to do the rest of the DJD? Yeah. I mean, I guess you can never say never, but can you actually, imagine Hasbro putting a figure out that turns into a sniper rifle? Well, they don't do Megatron anymore as a gun, so why would they do, Boss, right? Yeah. Yeah, and what about a guy? Okay, so not the sniper rifle guy, but what about Kaon? Well, Kaon turns into an electric chair. So will they do him? Well, maybe not an electric chair, maybe a lazy boy. Okay, well that's not as menacing, but maybe something like that.
And that's going to tie into a question that's way down the line, but it's going to be interesting to hear what you have to say about that. So you open your toys, you leave them packaged and all that good stuff, just like a lot of, like for me, I have just under 250 Funko Pops. Half of them are in storage, but the ones that I have here, from when I moved from Washington to Indiana, I have three that are open. Because one, sadly, the Soup Nazi from Seinfeld, his box kind of got a little damaged. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you can come out and you can, take your pointy finger and point at people and just say, no thing for you. And then I've got the 10-inch Unicron, or I should say the 10.5-inch Unicron Jumbo and the 10-inch Soundwave out of box. So yeah, I'm perfectly fine paying $40 for a Unicron that looks like HasLab Unicron without having to pay $600 for the actual planet that I wouldn't know where to put it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If as a kid or an adult, and I can already tell what the answer is going to be to this question, you were only allowed to choose one toy franchise to collect from, which one would it be and why?
I mean, we know the answer to this one.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Absolutely.
It was just, as far as the why, it was able to give me, a lot more things to do with with time. And there are multiple facets of play value with those toys. And, it's a fun toy. So,
Yeah.
I was able to have a lot of fun with them growing up. And then I was able to parlay that into a fun little community that I still enjoy now.
Absolutely. It really, really is just the ultimate toy line when it comes to the play pattern stuff. As an adult, do you prefer vintage toys or modern toys?
Oh, vintage, 100%. I'm currently sitting at about 315 G1 toys, and even with the re-releases of the Beast Wars toys, I'm still preferring the original Beast Wars figures to the re-releases and anything like that. So yeah, I'll still chase the vintage stuff if I can, and it's there's a charm with the vintage stuff. It's it's got its flaws, but you don't really you don't judge them on it because that's what they had access to at the time,
Yeah, and it was made in the time that it was meant for. It was meant for the 80s. They were using die-cast construction, and now it's all plastic, and that's fine. Okay, it's not all. There are certain toys out there that do use whatever, but you know what I mean? Like, we went from having certain toys be all die-cast versus now majority of them are all plastic. And you're right, it just depends on when the thing is made. 40, 50, 60, 70, 100 years from now, I'm sure Hasbro's still going to be around. I'm sure Transformers are still going to be a thing. And who knows, maybe they'll all just be pumping the action figures into our brains like the PS9 or something. Oh, that commercial. There was a commercial for the PS2 years ago where they started out like some sort of future thing. Oh, this is the PS9. You just put this plug into the side of your head and the video games are just beamed into your head. Oh, Sony. All right. What is the one toy you can always play with?
There's a joke there.
There is, and I can't believe I say that question with a straight face every single time.
Yes, I was born with that toy, but I...
Wow.
I don't know. I guess the toy... I never have a problem picking up a G1 Optimus Prime and messing around with it. It's kind of fun. There's yeah, I mean, I don't really play with the toys anymore, though. You know.
Well, yeah, but like, I mean, just in general, like, okay. For example, I'm just gonna use this, but like, I have the Knight Rider Hot Wheels Super Pursuit mode car just in front of me on my desk, and I got this thing recently over the last 6 months or so. Yes, I'm not going to sit here and roll it across my apartment floor, but at least I can, at least as an adult, I can pick it up, I can look at it, I can look at its construction, I can whatever, and I can set it right back down to my 3D printed Grogu that Pia gave me. So it's like that kind of thing when we're adults. Basically, like, what's the one toy that you always gravitate towards in your collection more than the others? Like, if you only, like, the one you always want to pick up and look at, or that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'd probably go with my G1 Optimus. Or no, you know what? It's probably going to be my my G1 Skyfire or Jetfire. Yeah, it's I mean, it's in a box now, but it's gorgeous.
Yeah, that old jet was always fun.
Yeah.
So even though there are always toy lines that people never purchase, are there any that you specifically and purposefully avoid? This can be a toy line, a specific character, etc.
Yeah. I am not a fan of Star Wars. As far as the toy line goes, I tried to get into the Black Series when it first started, and ended up finding like the first Boba Fett figure for really cheap. It was at a discount outlet. I think I got it for like $7 or $8. So
wow,
it was I think it shot up in value really quick. But then they released like 85 different variants of it, so it's worthless now. But
just like Boba Fett himself, yeah,
yeah. So but Star Wars toys, I could never ever get into. It when I was a kid, it just seemed like it was the G.I. Joe toys in space. So I liked the only thing I liked about the G.I. Joe toys were the vehicles, and then the Star Wars toys were that, but in space, and the space toys weren't as cool to me as the G.I. Joe toys. So, yeah, that was it. Star Wars, it's one of those toy lines I just can't get into.
Yeah, that's cool. And I don't know. Yeah, I mean, if it, like we've already said, if it comes down between Transformers and almost any other toy line, like, I just, Are there any toys in the past or currently that you wish you had not bought them? Are there any toys you may have sold that you regret letting them go?
Oh, there's a lot I wish I never sold. And there's tons I wish I had bought. But as wish I never bought. I mean, with regards to Transformers and stuff like that, you always there's always a figure that's going to replace another figure. So it's so are you going to be the early adopter, right? So what I mean by that is with Transformers, there's this movement to go with Legend scale right now. So there's a lot of these third-party companies are creating Legend scale figures, and they're very cool. But are they, a lot of them are third party, and so do you buy in? Do you pick one kind of brand to chase, or do you just buy everything, or do you buy the ones that you like, kind of thing? That's always a choice you make. So when I first started into it, I was like, you know what? I really like, I really like this Megatron and I really like this Devastator. So I bought a Megatron and a Devastator, both from a company called DX9. And they were the only figures out of those two characters at the time. And, the DX9 Devastator came in one box and the Megatron came in a separate box. So, it was easy enough to get everything. And now it's 4 years later, probably, they have been, eclipsed by, newer figures, like, beyond eclipse. Like, there are newer figures out that are way, 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 way better, So do you say, well, I wish I never bought those, because I've had 4 years of those being in my collection and experiencing those, but now there are something way, way better, So, I don't really feel like, I really should say that I wish I never bought them, because now they're almost garbage by comparison. But
wow.
The original DX9 Devastator was fun. It was a really fun figure. I'm sitting here staring at it because it has no place on the shelf anymore, because I've replaced it with the Magic Square one, right?
Right.
And it's a magnificent figure, right? And it's, it's bigger, but it still qualifies as legend scale, right? But who's to say that in another 4 years, there won't be another one that's way better than the Magic Square one? In my head, I can't imagine that, but, whatever. But I couldn't imagine that 4 years ago.
Yeah, there's always going to, whether it's Hasbro or whether it's any of the third-party people, there's always going to be another new version of whichever character. And that's the thing with me. Like, for me, it's like, I go after the characters, whatever at that time, the best possible version of the character that I can get. That's what I would want. Of course,
sure. As a pop collector, you're really not dealing with many different
funny
variations of a character, right?
Funny guy. Yeah. Okay. Technically, you are. I mean, unless it's Batman, because there's like a million Funko Pop Batmans. But yes, no. I just like everybody else, I grew up with toys. The Funko wasn't a thing for me until 5-6 years ago. From 2005 to 2011, I had, like, literally, I went out at 8 a.m. I was in, may the man rest in peace. He's been gone a little while now, but it's still a little raw. I had a 3 a.m. Saturday morning Eastern Time conversation on Twitter with Derek J. Wyatt about Purple Shockwave, which was the 2-pack Target exclusive animated toy. And he's like, yeah, it's $5 at Target. And I'm just like, wait, what? Really? I was at Target at 8 a.m. that day, grabbed that. I didn't even care about the damn Bumblebee. I just wanted the Purple Shockwave for $5. That was easily, out of all the toy deals I've ever gotten, other than stuff people have sent to me, that was easily the second one of two best deals I ever got. And it's just, so no, I know, even though just because I'm collecting Pops now doesn't mean I don't appreciate the rest of the toys that I've either had in the past or the toys that, like, I look at that poster, and the poster that I'm referencing, folks, for the listeners, just in case you know, is the one that they revealed recently for the Transformers Velocitron Legacy line, or no, it's Transformers Legacy Evolution. That's what it is. And I look at that poster and I'm like, that is so cool. That's awesome. I look at those images of the Tarn figure. Holy crap, I can't believe that. That's amazing. So no, I have an appreciation for it. But you're right, I don't necessarily have to worry about that kind of thing with the Funko, thank God, because that would just be a little too much.
Yeah, and that poster is another great piece of art by Marcelo Mater.
Absolutely it is. It's not that hard to give credit, people. Always give the credit when you know what the credit is.
Mm-hmm. No, it's one of those things I get mad at people on Facebook about when they just say, oh, I really like this picture. I'm like, okay, cool. Who drew it?
Yeah.
most of the time they don't know, or sometimes they do, but they say, they say something like, oh, I don't, it doesn't matter. It's an awesome picture. And I say, oh, it does matter because,
no, it does. Yeah, it does matter.
Time on drawing it. So,
no, absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, I've always, as long as I've known who the credit is, or as long as Google has told me who it is, if I didn't know who it was kind of thing, you always give credit. Like I said, unless you absolutely don't know or no one know. Like, that's one of the reasons why I do these things sometimes on Twitter. Like, Google is failing me. Who did this? And 9 times out of 10, somebody will know.
Yeah. It takes 2 seconds to do a reverse image search.
Yep. You've mentioned that you have your office and your display room. So how large, you also have mentioned you had 350 or something or other, but how large or small is your toy collection? Do your toys take up the whole house, or are they relegated to one room, shelf, or something like that?
The room is, it would be probably considered the 4th bedroom in the house. Okay. And it was taken by me because when we moved in, we only had the one kid, and we couldn't imagine needing a 4th bedroom for anybody. So I snagged this room and I put a computer in it and a bunch of shelves and started putting stuff up here. But I filled it pretty quickly, and I have been told numerous times by my wife to say, hey, why don't you move out of that room and take over the larger room next door, what we're using as a TV room and a kind of a secondary living room. And I've told her, I said, no, I can't. I need to stay in the smaller room, because if I take the larger room, I will also fill that room.
Yeah, and you're going to want to fill that space. Exactly, yeah.
I can't fill it. I need to stay limited. So if I keep myself limited, then we stay in this house. So if you free the beast, then we're moving. So.
Yes, absolutely. That's the thing. Like, you were like, for me, when Karen was still alive and she had bought the house that we were living in Gurnee, and out of all so there were like yours, there were 4 bedrooms. Technically, our 4th bedroom was also the laundry room, so we didn't really count that as a 4th bedroom, even though it should be counted as a 4th bedroom. But so out of the 3 other bedrooms, the master bedroom, and then there was 2 other ones, and I was like, oh, I like this one the best. And of course, at the time, I didn't realize that, oh yeah, the western sun comes in right where you're putting your computer. So, and I didn't have the blackout curtains up yet, so I'm like, oh god, I can't record podcasts from like 12 noon to 5. I have to wait until like 7 p.m. because the sun will be in my eyes for all that time. But yeah, no, I had them all in that. I had like, there's pictures online, 3 or 4 shelves of all the Funko Pops and everything else, and I had various display things, and I just kept them all in there. And some of the ones that she had wanted, we've kept them where she wanted them and stuff like that. So yeah, no, there are people out there though that I know at least one person bought a whole house just because that person knew that they had such a giant toy collection that it was going to take up the whole house.
Yeah, it's a lot. So, there's a couple things that have kind of bled out. Like I've got some original comic book art that's on the walls outside of the room. Some pictures and stuff like that. I've hung some comic books outside of the wall, outside of the room. It's one of the things we haven't talked about because it's not toy related, but I'm quite a large comic book collector too. So, it's everything. If I can contain it within the room, then I do.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. So, how do you keep track of your collection? Do you have a spreadsheet? Do you have an app? How do you make sure you don't buy what you already have?
Well, that is a good question. Because, for one, I just mentioned it, the comic book collection, I'm closing in on about 10,000 comics that I need an app for. So there is an app that I use. It's called League of Comic Geeks, and it's a free app. So, if anyone out there is looking for kind of a help with collecting their their collecting of comic books. League of Comic Geeks is just a really great little app, and it's just it has seemingly no end in the amount of books you can add to your collection. So I mean, I've got almost 10,000 on there myself, and you can add it helps you add your want list and stuff like that, which is troubling for me because every time I go into the store, I just pull up my want list and I start hitting the back issue bins. But so this app is great. And it's like I said, it's free. As far as the Transformers go, there is no app. So
no, there isn't.
I mean, there's a site. There's a couple sites, but I mean, the one that is probably the best, and I say best in quotations because it's by best, it's pretty shitty. It's Shamax, I think, is it? It's, and that's, I mean, it has everything listed, and there are very few pictures. So, I mean, when I say that, they also keep a list of every single variation of every figure, which is insane. So, you want to say, okay, well, I bought, I don't know, let's say G1 Optimus Prime. Okay, cool. Well, they have a picture of that. Okay, great. But what version of G1 Optimus Prime did you get? Oh, there are different versions? Yeah, there are. Okay, well, I bought mine in Canada. Okay, well, what year did you buy it in? Because that's also going to determine, oh my God, Jesus, shoot me in the face. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, there are many different versions, and then it's also going to ask you how much you paid for it and that kind of stuff. So it helps a lot when you're trying to keep track of the value of your collection and stuff like that. It can also say I bought, you're going through your current collection and that you bought, let's say, Thrilling 30s, I don't know, skids, off the shelf. You bought them new from a store. Yeah. And you're saying, I'm going to add this one because I have him. And say, oh, did you? And you're going through all the questions that's on this site, because it's not an app, it's a website. Yeah. And it's saying, okay, so what was the value of it when you bought it? And you say, I don't remember what it was, but I know I bought it off the shelf from the store. Well, it's curated by the community. So you may not have to remember if the community remembers what the value of, or what the retail price of this thing was, right? So you just look to the side and they'll say, okay, well, this thing was, I don't know, $22 or something like that when you bought it off the shelf. Okay, well, that probably is because it's got 45 people saying they paid $22 for this thing when they bought it off the shelf. That's probably what retail was for it. So I'll just put in that I paid $22 for it. So yeah, so you can, and that helps you with your, if you're off by anything, it's probably a couple cents. So it's pretty reliable that way, but it's definitely not an app, and it's a lot more work, especially if you have, like me, multiple hundreds of figures. So
yep, absolutely.
Infernal technical difficulties, and just when the show is getting interesting.
Yeah, that is awesome. And I wish, you would think with everything that anybody does, that there would be a toy. Hey, maybe All Things Transformers and Transmissions can team up and make a Transformers collectors app, so you can have that's a lot of work, though. We would probably have to get Ant from TFU.info, because he has all the info and all the past releases to populate all of that.
I mean, you'd think there's money in it. There's got to be some money in it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, $1.29 download or whatever it is nowadays. Probably $5.99 download for premium stuff. Oh, inflation and digital things. Oh boy. How do you display your toys? So with your Transformers, are there ones that you prefer, grouping together, or do you enact scenes? Do you have Optimus getting shot by Megatron while, arm-holding hot rod, that kind of stuff.
Why throw away your life so recklessly?
Yeah, I've got 5 Detolfs, and they generally are reserved for my higher end stuff. So the one that's right beside my desk is housing my let's see here. My G1 countdown base is on the bottom. I've got some third-party toys, Phoenix, Fans Toys Phoenix, and the Deformation Starscream on the next shelf up. Then I got my my Unicron on the middle shelf, so I stare right at him almost every day. He's the third-party one, not the HasLab one.
Yeah, not the big expensive one. Yeah,
yeah, because this one fits in the shelf. So, and then on the top shelf is my super expensive Beast Wars toys. So they're right there, nicely protected. In the back, I have along the bottom 4 shelves of the 4 Detolfs, I have 4 giant combiners. So they're all in the back 4 shelves, and then along the top, the 2 shelves, the top 2 shelves on the left are Autobots, and then the 2 shelves on the left 2 Detolfs are Decepticons, and the middle 2 shelves for both do contain some G1s, some higher end G1s. So the Decepticon one has my Reflector in it, and my Stalker, and I can't remember the name of the other one, but he's almost all gold plastic. And then I've got my Monstructor, Thunderclash, my Predator Jets, the rest of my Turbo Masters, my Red Faced Slag, and my Bumble Jumper in the other one. So yeah, there's some nicely valuable stuff in those ones, and generally I do tend to put Autobots on one side and the Decepticons on the other. That's the way I've got my G1s sorted out. My G1s are sorted on the shelves by year, by cool. Release year. So
Soundwave superior, Constructicons inferior.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny to look at the 1984 release year, because there was only like 9 Decepticons released that year.
Yep.
to the 24 Autobots.
Yeah.
And you look at it, and I remember thinking about it at the time, like, how the hell did the Autobots not destroy the Decepticons that year? Like, how did they lose? So, Yeah. I mean, the Decepticons obviously got a lot of reinforcements the next year, but so did the Autobots. Like, the Autobots should not have even had a problem with the Decepticons in those first 2 years, but they did. So, but yeah, so that's generally how I display them with, opposites. Not really any kind of stories playing out. It's just kind of just showing, the different teams.
Yeah, like, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys, Yeah, that is very, very cool. Yeah, you mentioned your most expensive Beast Wars toys. I think that would probably be a good place to tell your number 1 Beast Wars fan story.
Go for booting up, Cole!
Okay. Basically, I just bought the the guys on the podcast, they are admittedly very, very big Beast Wars fans. They are fans of the cartoon, and they also really enjoy all the other fiction that comes along with it. And I'm not. I very much dislike the cartoon. It's I can't get over the look of it. So, but what I do enjoy about Beast Wars are the toys. So I had an opportunity to buy one of the most expensive Beast Wars toys that came around, and it was the Icard and Taco Tank, and it's just a fun, crazy little Beast Wars figure. And I mean, the Taco Tank is really, it's just a giant squid octopus thing, and it's honestly, it's just an accessory to the Icard figure, which is just just a tiny little figure, but it's expensive. So when this thing came in, I told the guys on the show, I said, look, unless you guys are going to pony up the money to actually buy a more expensive Beast Wars toy than me, then from this point on, I'm the biggest Beast Wars fan. So. And they still haven't. So, I mean, I retain the title of #1 Beast Wars fan because, they have yet to try and take it from me. So yeah, it's a title that, I don't necessarily want, but, will happily take because it irks seemingly so many people.
Yeah. You'll happily sell out for the title. That's right.
It's a purchasable title. Anyone can take it. They just gotta buy a figure, and they gotta be a host on transmissions. That's a catch. Do you think they will ever, like you mentioned that they're doing the Beast Wars reissues and stuff like that? Do you think they will ever do a new Icard and Taco Tank? Never. It's too obscure. And I mean, it was a Beast Wars. I think it's Beast Wars Neo, right?
Okay.
So it's a Japanese, exclusive figure too, right? So yeah, it's one of those figures that's it's very cool, but it's not Beast Wars Neo, it's Beast Wars Second.
Sorry.
Sorry everybody, I got confused with my Beast Wars. I don't know the shows that well. I know the toys. But it's a Beast Wars Second, and it's crazy. Like, I mean, I can run through the rest of the characters on that shelf just because, if people are thinking that, I'm claiming it just because I just have one character or one figure. So I do have in that shelf, I do have a Dirge gun.
Mm-hmm.
I do have, Hellscream. I do have Max B. I do have Thrustor.
Mm-hmm.
And I have Galvatron, who's just he's a cool figure, that one. And Moon, just Moon. It's not Moon B. So Moon as well. So that Moon, who just made an appearance in that last Bot Standing comics.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
I've always wondered if they were ever gonna make a squid a la the movie, and they kind of did, except it's in Beast Wars Second, not the G1. Like,
that's right.
You every Hot Rod / Rodimus toy they've ever made, at least most of them, you have to have the saw blade accessory for his hand, and almost all of them have them, except we don't really have the squid to go along with the, like, if they can make a Quintesson Judgment thing, they can make a squid. Like, all they got to do is repaint this thing.
Yeah.
So
I mean, a lot of the tentacles are all this soft plastic, right? So
yeah.
It's probably not as easy to make as it was back in the day, but it's doable. I mean, it's got a water gun in it, so I mean, it's really of its time.
Does the water shoot out its nose? Please tell me the water shoots out. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
I'm looking at this thing in squid mode. I'm like, oh, that would be hilarious.
Yep, for sure.
Oh, that's so cool. All right, if you could only keep one toy from your entire collection, what would it be and why?
Oh, we've talked about this before. And as much as I do like my G1 Optimus Prime, and I've got a lot of expensive toys. I'm probably going to be walking away with my my 01 Studio Cell, the Unicron. It's just awesome. I like it so much. It's got a lot of presence, and it's, I've modded it out so it has a little voice chip in it now. So yeah, it's
cool.
It's awesome. It's a really great figure, and it transforms into a ball. So yeah, It's easily pack-awayable.
Yep, absolutely. On the flip side of that, here's the Toy Box Challenge. You get one 18 by 18 by 18 box. The only toys you can keep have to fit in the box. What are you putting in there?
What's 18?
18 by 18 by 18. I don't know. Height,
Yeah, what is 18?
size,
8 inches?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. I don't know inches, so...
Oh, I don't know metrics, so...
So I had to bring out my tape measure here. So that's 46 centimeters.
Okay, so 46 by 46 by 46. I don't know.
That's an so anything I can put into that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Interesting. All right. I mean, I could fit a lot of Transformers into that. I have a sentimental one that I've kept, even though it's all broken. Mm-hmm. I may have mentioned it the last time. I know I've mentioned it on a couple episodes of Transmissions, but there's a mask toy that I've kept. It's called the Meteor, and it's a white jet thing, and I've kept it for a number of years. It's broken, but it was the last toy that my dad gave me before he passed away. So I've kept this thing forever. I've recently, last year, bought a working one off of eBay, and I've been hoping to get a nice set of stickers for it, but the ones that I found were not the proper type of stickers. So I'm looking to get the proper ones. But so that would be the one I would want to make sure I got in there for sure. Other than that, I mean, there's a bunch of other ones. I mean, I'm looking at a room with probably 500 Transformers in it. So I'd probably transform a bunch of them down to their smallest sizes and fit as many of them in there as I possibly could.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, this is going to be interesting. I know you tolerate them, but are you a Funko fan?
I mean, not overly.
Okay.
They how do I say this? They absolutely take over the collecting space now. Mm-hmm. So I mean, if any con that I go to, every single booth has got Funko now.
Yeah.
And it drives me nuts. I don't understand the collectability of them. And I mean, it's fine. I don't need to. Right. And I'm glad that people like you out there do. Mm-hmm. And that's, there's nothing wrong with being into them.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm older than you. So the way I look at them is I see Beanie Babies when I look at Funkos. So, when I just, the Funkos have lasted a lot longer than Beanie Babies have though. So, I look at these things and I see, okay, well, they're just marketed better and it's run better. So, I mean, Beanie Babies had to crawl so Funkos could run, kind of thing. So it's just the next evolution of mass collectability. So I mean, it's fine. They don't have to be my thing, but I'm glad that people are finding their niche in them.
Yeah, you're born in 75. If you
Me?
were 10,
no, I'm born in 80 actually.
Oh, then we're the same age.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was born in February of 80. I'll be 43 in a few months or whenever the hell, later next year. Yeah, no, the thing with Funko for me, and I understand, and I get your point, and I do agree. Conventions, every booth has at least one wall, if not more walls. And then there are specific places at conventions now where that's what they are. They are a Funko booth. They don't have anything else. For me personally, what it is about them is it's an easy way for me to collect the characters that I love. That's like I mentioned earlier about spending the $40 at GameStop for the 10.5-inch Unicron, that because the way the Transformers license with Funko works, as far as I've understood it from what I've seen released, they can make any Funko Pop out of a Transformers character as long as it is the toy design. So all of the multiple Optimus Primes they've made are all variations on the original 84 robot mode. This Unicron is a smaller version of the HasLab design. He has those teeth. Ugh, teeth. But for me, it was more about like characters that I was never going to have a toy of, and I'm sure there have been toys over the years, but like the cereal mascots, like Count Chocula, Boo Berry, Frankenberry, that kind of stuff. Like, specific thing, like out of every single McDonald's Happy Meal toy there has ever been, I don't think there really has ever been a Grimace toy. I don't remember if there was. There probably was, but like, so that's what it is for me. And I've said this in all these episodes, but that's essentially what it is. But you're right. It is taking it over. And I think the only way that they are not going to fade away in the next couple of years is if they get a Nintendo license. Because if they get a Nintendo license, Funko will just explode even more than they already have. As you mentioned earlier, you do have a lot of expensive toys. What was the most money you spent on a toy?
Well, I mean, I did buy the HasLab Unicron.
Okay.
And that was about, in Canadian, it was probably about $800. Mm-hmm. I've also finished the Moon Studios Radiatron. So, okay. I mean, it's 6 figures. So is that, because it combines into one, but it's 6. Is that count as one? I mean, I'm not taking it apart anytime soon. So,
yeah, I mean, like just overall, like it doesn't have to be a single toy. Like for me, right now, I can safely say the most money I ever spent was on the entirety of the BotCon 2008 set. So whatever the 5 figures cost plus the exclusives, I think I paid just over $800 US. So, and that was for 8 figures, so what did that taco tank cost?
That was about just over $200.
Oh, really?
It's not much.
No. Like
the fact that these guys they don't want to do it. It's kind of sad.
Come on, Dr. Pants. You're the number one Beast Wars fan according to you. Come on, Dr. Pants. Yeah. Let's go.
The Moon Studios Radiatron probably is just over 900 Canadian. Like I mentioned when we did the Transformers focused one, is I own a lot of figures that have appreciated in value since I bought them or have acquired them. Right. So, like I said, I have a red face slag that I picked up from a store that didn't know it was a red face slag or didn't care that it was a red face slag. So they just sold it to me as it was a G1 slag, which was like $45. Like, wow. Okay, yeah, I'll buy that in a minute. So yeah, it's probably worth $250, but I didn't pay that. So my collecting has been all about finding deals.
Yeah.
I have a complete, 100% complete G1 Monstructor. And he's probably $300 to $350 worth, right? But I got him from working at the comic book store. So, I worked it off. So, does that, I didn't pay any money for it, right?
Yeah.
So, does that count? Like, I mean, I have a lot of figures that are worth a lot of money, but I didn't exchange real money for it, kind of thing. So,
I mean, most of us aren't in it for the value. The value in the toy is, like you said, the fact that you get to claim this title, or the fact that you really enjoy G1 Like the whole point, like most of us are not in it just because they have value to them monetarily.
Yeah.
So on the flip side of that, you say you like finding discounts and getting stuff for cheap. So what was the cheapest toy you bought, and what was the best deal you ever got?
That's an easy question to answer. Because, I used to work at Toys R Us, and that was really was the impetus of me getting back into Transformers. That I could not help myself when I was working at Toys R Us, and at the time there was I think it was probably around Dark of the Moon, so 2011 or so, 2012. There was a line of deluxe figures that came out, and a Bumblebee figure was on the shelf that had like racing paint job on it. He had a number and everything. Like I don't remember what it was. I never kept the toy because I got it so cheap. I donated it to children's charity. And like it was around Christmas time. So these things were peg warming, and nobody was buying them. There were tons of them on the shelf, and a rep like the merchandiser from Hasbro came in. They do, and every now and then, if you're in the store, you'll know these people. They come in and they kind of rearrange the shelves, and they put up product that are in the back and stuff like that. And this person came in and they see all these things here, and they say, okay, we're putting these stickers on these particular figures because we need them to move. And I asked them, what is it? And they said, oh, it's a $9 discount sticker. Oh, I said, okay. And I thought, well, knowing that this thing is like a $16 deluxe right now, this thing is going to bust it down to like $5. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty good, And I'm like, I really still don't want it, but now it's like $5. Might as well buy it.
Yeah.
Right. I'm thinking I still get my employee discount. Right? So the employee discount, right, is actually going to come off of the price before the coupon.
Right.
Like, oh, okay. Right. So I go and get the thing at the end of the day, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do this properly. I'm not going to try and run it through myself. So I had the shift supervisor or the manager on duty or whatever run it through, and they ran it through, and the total price on this thing was 24 cents. Holy crap. So I'm like, oh my God. So I went and grabbed a quarter and I paid for this thing with a quarter. And this thing, I mean, it was incredible. I went from a figure that I was like, all right, well, maybe I'll buy it, to like, yeah, I'm going to go and I'm going to get a couple of these and I'm going to donate them to the children's Christmas charity and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool though. That's that's great. Yeah. Especially with a deal like that, and a figure like Bumblebee, like you said, Bumblebee is one of the most recognizable, top tier Transformers characters. Every kid, no matter when they were born, as long as they're old enough to have their parents introduce them to it, every kid knows who Bumblebee is. Do you visit toy shows or conventions? When you visit toy shows or conventions, do you have a typical methodology? Do you bring a certain amount of money for what you were searching for?
Well, yes, sir, I do visit toy shows and conventions. I went to TFCon in July here in Toronto, and I just recently went to London Comic Con here in London, Ontario. And I will be going to TFCon Chicago in later this month. So I'll be driving up your way soon. But as far as my methodology goes, it's changed a lot over the years. It depends on the kind of convention I'm going to. Like if I'm going to a straight up con, I'll go with a bit of a plan. Generally, I like to talk to like comic book creators and stuff like that, and kind of get signatures and whatnot. When I'm going to like a TFCon or something like that, I try to get the. I try to maybe be a little bit more in the background. Since I've been in the community and in the fandom for such a long time, I go to these conventions just mainly just to be around friends that I've met over the years and just to kind of participate in the convention. So with regards to like this upcoming TFCon in Chicago, we're going to have a panel at the end of the show. And we're just going to kind of interact with listeners of transmissions, but mainly we're going to go and see what's up, and not really looking to buy a lot of stuff. But if we do see something, then maybe we'll buy some things. But generally, we the other guys and I from transmissions, we really don't get to see each other all that much. So when we do get a chance to actually see each other in person, we really like to take the opportunity to do that. And Chicago is really close for all of us. So it's a really good opportunity. And Chicago is a fun town. When we were there last, we really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah. Chicago is one toddling town. That's right. I am 3 hours and 30 minutes north, or technically southeast of Chicago. So yeah.
So you're going?
No, I'm not going. If I was going, I would have had to have found a way to get a certain ticket that they have for a certain person that's going to be there, because that would be the only reason why I would go, is to get a chance to talk to the man. Look, as much as I diss Optimus Prime as a character, there is no lost love. Like, I love Peter Cullen. Like, that man gave the voice to the character, and I would love to be able to meet him, but no, sadly I'm not going.
Oh, he's a nice guy. I met him when he came to Toronto the one year.
Peter is awesome. And the reason why I paused at the beginning of question 26 is because I skipped question 25. What modern and/or vintage toy lines are you collecting right now?
Well, I do collect Transformers, both modern and vintage. I collect, over the course of the pandemic, I thought, you know what, I'm going to collect Hot Wheels because they're cheap and I can get them at the dollar store, which is within walking distance from my house. Yep. So I started, and I've always had an interest in Hot Wheels. I mean, which kid growing up didn't? Kind of thing. You grab a Hot Wheel and you go and play with it in the dirt outside. But, over the years, especially being at Toys R Us for the years that I was, I would see Hot Wheels on the shelf, and I would kind of grab a couple because they would look cool, especially when I'd walk by the shelf and I'd see, holy shit, there's a Batmobile on the rack, so I'd grab that one and kind of thing. So I would start to amass this small little collection of Hot Wheels over the years. But when the pandemic hit, I really started to say, you know what, let's kind of dive into this, because they were like $1.50 each here, and I thought this can be really cheap, and I can really kind of get into this. But I did get into Marvel Legends for a while, and it got out of hand really fast. And I had to stop myself, box them all up and take them to the comic book store and say, look, you give me something for these, because I cannot collect these and Transformers at the same time. So yeah. But as those are the only toy lines, but I cannot understate the fact that I collect comics as well. It is almost, at this point, it is almost 50-50 with Transformers.
Well, folks, you're going to be hearing Darryl in 2023, because the whole point of all of these origins that I've now expanded to started with the pull bag. We have 25 questions about reading and you getting into or out of comics. So Darryl's going to be a three-peater around here sometime next year. What do you think it is about our generation that causes our childhood toys to mean so much more to us than, say, for instance, our parents' generation?
That's another good question. I think I talked a little bit about this when I interviewed Izzy Franzese on the on our one-on-one show that we did, and we dove into a little bit of the nostalgia fact, but I think there's an aspect of just the wanting to relive your youth, but you don't necessarily need to actually, go through the motions of reliving it. You can just have it by you, beside you, and just by looking at it, you can say, okay, well, that's comforting, and just you can kind of sit in it. It's like a comforting soup that you can kind of have and just kind of be in the nostalgia, right? You just kind of surround yourself in it, and it's kind of comforting. I find that sometimes when I've had a stressful day, I don't necessarily need to do anything, but I can come down here and sit, in my chair here in my, my office, and just kind of just being in this room relaxes me. There's nothing particularly relaxing about this room. It's a mess. Right? It's an absolute disaster 9 times out of 10, but just the amount of nostalgia in this room, the amount of just memories and stuff that's kind of takes your mind away from your current problems, that helps so much. And that's the fact that our parents' generation didn't have that, or they did, they definitely had something, because I know that for a fact my mother has a real nostalgia for her Beatles collectibles. She has a lot of that stuff, still, and laments the fact that her mother, my grandmother, got rid of a lot of her stuff when she was younger. And that kind of nostalgia is just that kind of sits with her. So yeah, she has that kind of thing sitting there too. But that generation, there was a different impetus put on responsibility, I guess, and so she doesn't really need to sit in her soup of the Beatles for relaxation. She can kind of put her music on, I guess, and kind of work away on whatever she needs to do. She doesn't need to kind of embrace the action figures or toys that she might have had at one point. She doesn't have to rebuy all the stuff that her mother threw away.
Yeah.
And I mean, if my father was still alive, I have no doubt that he will have bought some old car that he probably would have had. I have no doubt, because he was a bit of a nut job that way. But he, there are stories I get told of him, going after old cars and stuff like that. So he would have. I have no doubt that there would be an old car sitting maybe on blocks or something in my driveway or something like that, because he would have chased it around. But so there's there is nostalgia there. It's disguised differently for that generation.
Yeah, it's more like under the radar, whereas us having, because for us it was more of, this is just like, I honestly believe, and I've said this in every episode, I honestly believe the 1980s, the late 70s up until the 80s and all the way through the 90s to today is when the whole boom of toy collecting started, even though we were kids and we were just playing with them at the time. But you have brands that started back then: Transformers, G.I. Joe, He-Man, Mask, Gem, whatever, insert, all of that, the Star Wars stuff, and they are now continuing 40 to 50 years later. And
it's, I mean, I'm Canadian, but I still recognize the importance of what Ronald Reagan did. Right. Sure, he was a Republican, but he still changed the way that cartoons were marketed.
Yep.
So, that had a huge effect on us here in Canada, and especially you guys there in the States. That was not a thing for our parents' generation.
Nope.
So, so of course it's going to be different for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what is your motivation for purchasing toys? To display, play, fiddle? Describe your collecting style. Are you a complete completionist, a storyteller, cherry picker, or otherwise?
I've evolved recently. I mean, I'm definitely more of a cherry picker now. Like we discussed earlier, I used to be a bit of a completionist, going after everything. But recent events in our recent discovery of Hasbro's policies and their exclusivity agreements have lended me to be more of a cherry picker. I do still enjoy a lot of the main line. I used to buy almost everything except for like the really, really childish stuff. Like I'm sitting here and I'm looking at a bunch of like the RID 2015 toys and stuff like that. But I stopped with those. I would have really liked to have bought the Cyberverse Warrior class toys, but I told myself, you're not buying anything other than the Generations line anymore out of mainline. So you can't afford to buy everything. So I had to draw a line somewhere, and that was one of the cuts. So yeah, I look at it fondly, but yeah, I had to get rid of something, and I really wish that some of that stuff would stay, but it had to go.
Absolutely. Have you ever purchased a toy for a child with the ulterior motive of playing with it yourself?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I have two kids now, and one of them's 13. So yeah, a lot of my daughter's first toys were kind of bought in the, under the guise of like, okay, well, this is for you, but until you're old enough, I'm just gonna keep this for myself.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold on to it for you.
On the flip side, my son, who's 19 months old now, is currently playing with an Optimus Prime from what was that? The kids show that just ended recently. What was that?
BotBots?
No, the other one, the one that was on TV.
Rescue Bots.
Rescue Bots, yes, Rescue Bots Optimus Prime. So yeah, so honestly, I bought that when my daughter was quite young as well. Well, maybe it was for her originally, but once she grew out of it, it ended up in my collection, and now it's with my son. So it's kind of cute that it's kind of made its way to him. So yeah, he loves it now.
Made all the rounds. Yeah. So kind of on the flip side of that, have you purchased a vintage toy for a child because you thought it would be cool based on your own preferences?
Yes. Reissued. Though, so I do not buy original G1 toys from anybody but myself. So the reissue line that went to Walmart, my daughter currently owns the Hot Rod, and I think the tape 2-pack with Ravage and one of the tape bros. That might have been, well, Frenzy or Rumble, whichever one you decide the red one is. But that's the tape pack she got. I think those are the G1s that she has in there. Yeah, so it's a reissue, but it's still G1.
It's technically still vintage because those old reissue toys now that came out in early 2000s, late 2000s, right before the 20s. I forget when the commemorative series started. It was like whenever they started doing, like you said, Generations and the splits off of that kind of stuff. Yeah. So
it's not. I mean, it's not even that. Those are the reissues that just happened, though. Those are the ones that just happened. So these toys are only like 3 years old, 4 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. Do you do any toy modifications or customs, painting, building, build dioramas, that kind of stuff?
No. So I generally stay away from painting my toys because I'm not a very good painter.
Okay.
There are some aspects to, I don't really call it customizing, more of like fixing. So sometimes there is a figure that that does come out that needs a little bit of a helping hand, like it came from the factory misassembled, or there's some kind of like little tweak that it needs to just kind of do what it needs to do right. So every now and then I'll do something like that. There was the Thrilling 30 Blitzwing, I think it was, whose shoulders didn't peg in right. So there was a little fix that needed to happen, and I remember making a video on my YouTube channel about that, and then that put that out there. There was I know that I made a video recently about the Siege Galvatron on just how to take off the damage paint, like just the wear.
Yeah.
Then they went ahead and released one without the damage anyway. So, but yeah, I mean, I'd like to repair the shoulders on them, but I just haven't got haven't gone ahead and done anything like that myself yet. But there are, basically those are the kind of things I'll do. I'm technically inclined, so usually I have no problems tearing apart a figure and putting it back together. That's part of my job when I go to the comic book store, is to kind of take all the broken figures and kind of part them back together with other ones, and kind of Frankenstein one good one out of a bunch of busted ones. But it's I'm pretty decent at doing stuff like that.
Very cool, very cool. Do you think toy companies should specifically have adult collector toys, child toys, or find a way to mix both?
Okay, so if a company were to dedicate itself to making adult collectibles, then at some point in the future, that company will eventually go out of business. If you aren't seeding your future, you are destined to just die. So you have to continuously build towards your future audience. Unfortunately, even building towards what they're doing right now, building towards their future audience is still getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So it may seem that to us as the collecting market that, Hasbro or Mattel or whoever is not paying any attention to the kids who should be buying Transformers, as because that's where my eyes generally go. They're paying an awful lot of attention to the kids market, not because we need them to as collectors, but because they as a company need them to, because you and I being 42 years old, we're not going to be collecting Transformers forever, right? In 10 years, are we going to still collect Transformers? Or in 20 years, are we going to collect Transformers? Right? But they've got these kids who are, 6 to 10, who are just starting to want to get toys from the toy store, right? Who they need to now grab a hold of and say, look, you can get a toy. And those are the kids who will buy toys, for the next 20 years, right? Or who will be given toys, right? That kind of thing. And that's just economics. They need to, they need to seed the future. And that's, there are companies out there who are marketing to just adult collectors, and that's perfectly fine. Let those smaller third-party companies, the ones like Super 7, the ones like Funko is fine dealing with what they're doing. Those figures can go to kids. I've never seen a Funko collector more upset when they watch a child open up a Funko Pop, though. It's crazy when you see when I've watched a Funko collector watch a child open up one. It's kind of funny. So
it's a little ridiculous.
but yeah, it's there are the larger companies, Hasbro, Mattel, Playmates. those kind of companies, they need to allow for both. And they're, frankly, they're doing it well right now with what's happening. It's the way that everything is kind of playing out that's kind of doing those companies a disservice. And unfortunately, I have no ideas as to how to fix it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually, as you're talking about this, I'm trying to, because usually at least once every time I open Instagram, I will end up swiping over to a Hasbro ad of like Shattered Glass Soundwave that's coming out, and the first thing on there is obviously the picture of the toy, and then the little caption that parents swipe up to order now. So, they are telling you, hey, swipe up to get this either for yourself or for your kid, kind of thing. And that's, honestly, everybody's answer to this question is probably going to be they need to find a way, like Hasbro, Mattel, they need to find a way to mix both. Like, look, the Origins line is great, not only for us who grew up on it, but it's also great to be able to give a child that feeling that we had when we were kids. You want to be able to give your son the feeling of having a 1984 Optimus Prime without necessarily buying a 1984 Optimus Prime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, find a way to mix both. Do you have, you mentioned your mom and your grandma getting rid of your mom's stuff, but do you have a my parents got rid of my toys story?
Yeah, you had this question was in the last one as well. Mm-hmm. And personally, I don't, I think that my answer is the same. I don't remember anything specific. It just kind of happened. So it was one of those things where there were, I remember having, like I was a Cub Scout when I was younger, and I remember there was a meeting where we did some kind of a show and tell type of day. Right. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to bring in my Transformers collection because I was really proud of it. And it was a larger box, large for me as a small boy. Yeah. And at some point after that, I mean, I had a good time with it. It was, the point of the story is to just mention that it was a large box of Transformers. But at some point after that had happened, the toys were just gone. I had stopped playing with them. I had gotten into, Turtles, and the Transformer toys just kind of went away, and I didn't lose them all. I didn't, get rid of them all. It was never my choice, but they weren't around anymore. So my mother obviously decided at some point that they weren't, this one's broken, this one's missing a wheel or something like that. And, it's like, oh, garbage. And, I'm like, so I was never a party to, the clean out. It was just, it was done probably while I slept or at school or something like that. And it was, it was in the middle of the night. It was, my Transformers were taken from me.
Yep. Soundwave and Starscream and all of the Decepticons came in. Like, I'm taking these toys. Do you feel you are coming to an end of your active collecting? If so, what has signified this phase for you? Was there ever a moment when you were completely done with toys altogether?
I mean, I think so. I think I am starting to slow down. It is, it's marked by the fact that, I just don't have the space for the stuff anymore.
Right.
It's also marked by the fact that I really am not into the fact that the quality is not there for the main line anymore. I'm really upset and not happy with the quality that's coming out from mainline. So my attention is getting drawn to third party now. I still, I'm much more focused on, what third party does, or if my dollar is going to go to something, it's going to go to like maybe a cool comic that I'm getting, maybe something like that, or finishing off the G1 toys, because I need very few of those, and the ones that I need are now getting quite expensive. So,
which ones do you need?
Oh man, that's a good. I got to pull up a list for that. Yeah. So I have it. I have it on a spreadsheet because I was no way I was going to be able to keep this up. Give me a second here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So, all of 84 is complete.
Okay.
I only have. I need Chromar and Zatar of the Power Dashers. So
okay.
So I have one of them. All of 85 is complete. All of 86 is complete. And into 87, we're starting to find some missing ones now. So I need Target Master Blur.
Okay.
I need a Fortress Maximus.
Oh boy.
And that one, I don't care if it's a reissue or not. I'll take a reissue. So that's But out of 87 Autobots, I need 2. I need a Target Master Cyclonus and a Target Master Scourge. And I need a Slug Slinger.
Okay.
And for Trigger Happy, I need Blowpipe. So I need his Target Master.
Right.
Which is a hard one to find. Into 88, I need Catilla, Cloudburst, Landmine.
Jeez.
Sky High.
So
Splashdown. There's still a lot.
Yeah, I know. Out of all of those, though, what is... So you're saying a lot of these are really expensive. What is the most expensive one that you've seen online?
I mean, Fortress Maximus, by far. He's going to be the hardest one to find.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, if you were looking... I think this happened back in... let's just say somewhere between 2005 and 2010. There was an episode of Pawn Stars where this Transformers collector was on there. And
had a whole room full?
He had like 7 Fortress Maximuses, and I'm like, what? I understand the whole thing of 2 figures per character. 1 for in-box, 1 for out-of-box. I get that. Why do you need 7 of the same toy? I mean,
he's a hoarder.
Well, yeah, he was, but yeah.
So I mean, if I were to count them up, there's probably 24 figures in here. If I count the headmasters and stuff as the ones that I need, so there's. I'm getting really close, and actually, I was off. I had told you 315. I'm at 326 total G1 right now. So
cool,
yeah,
awesome,
yeah. But I mean, there's a couple of them here that are really getting harder to find. Like there's there is Pipeline and Gusher and Retro and Surge. These are Micromaster combiners,
okay,
and they are quite difficult to get.
Jeez.
So, yeah.
Well, that's not good. You'd think that they would be, especially with eBay and everything else. Of course, then you get.
I mean, they're there. They're just they're just expensive.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But I'll get them eventually. So usually, with some of these things, they get down to about being like one a year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's slowed to a crawl.
Yeah. But you have all of the stuff that you want. You don't have to, you don't feel like you need to hunt for anything. And like you said a few minutes ago, you're not that thrilled with the current production quality of the new stuff. So,
That's right.
You've got exactly what you want, and if you're like you also said, you're never not going to not be a collector because you're going to collect comic books, you're going to collect other things, or you're going to whatever. Like you can apply collecting as a term to anything. Like,
yep.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What is something that does not have a toy of it that you'd love to have in toy form?
Oh man, I mean, I think Funko's taking care of most of those at this point.
Funny guy.
If you can call them toys.
Stop it! They are.
The probably the human figures from G1. So Spike and Sparkplug have gotten enough, or Sparkplug I guess really hasn't, but Spike and Daniel have gotten a bunch over the years with Masterpiece and stuff like that. But like Carly has gotten like some kind of weird thing that came in a Masterpiece. Then there's a chip one in that came with I think
Masterpiece
it was
Bumblebee.
Sunstreaker.
Oh, he came with Sunstreaker. Yeah. Well, that was weird.
That was Sunstreaker, but yeah, it's so yeah, it's there are little things here and there, but then like the Melissa Fairborn or something like that. I think there was it's official because it came in it was a G.I. Joe crossover with so but that's it's not really
Transformers.
Real, so but yeah, so something along those lines where they did like the human characters. So yeah, where they were proper. They don't need to scale with the Masterpiece cars or anything like that because they can't do that right, Yeah. So just do the. I don't mind if they're in the GI Joe scale because they can actually make them look properly at that scale. But just do them once. Do them in a pack. They like doing these massive mega packs at this point, right?
Yeah.
Do like a mega pack of like 8 or 9 characters and just, let's go. Like, let's get this done.
Can you imagine you got, let's just say the entire Witwicky family, Sparkplug all the way down to Daniel. And then you got Carly. Technically she is a Witwicky because they eventually in some continuities are married.
Yeah. They bumped uglies, yep.
Yep. Then you got, like you said, Chip, and then you get into stuff like Dr. Archival, or what was the? Oh God!
And away we go.
Astoria. We need a Masterpiece Power Glide with Astoria. That's what we need.
There are a lot.
Yeah,
there are a lot.
Yeah. Sean Berger, Mr. Idiot. From Megatron's Master Plan. Yeah, there are surprisingly just off the top of my head, there are so many humans in the original Generation 1 cartoon that were specifically involved. Like you see, in a lot of those season 1 episodes, you'll see like background construction workers that kind of have the same outfit as Spike and Sparkplug, but they are just background characters. But there are very can you imagine with all these Beast Wars reissues if we got an actual like modern day version of what was her brother? It's Luna, and what's the boys? God, why am I asking you? You're not a Beast Wars fan, or you are, but like the two kids from that episode. God, when anyway, I'll look it up later. But yeah, I mean stuff like that, like yeah, absolutely. So on the flip side, what is a toy that you have that you'd love to have scaled up and functional for the real world?
Oh. And not G1 Megatron?
I mean, technically you can go to any pawn shop and get a version of that, but...
Yes. And I wouldn't have to buy it. It would just come to me. Okay. Probably some kind of supersonic jet. There's so many cool ones, like a space shuttle, a supersonic jet, fucking robot dinosaur. Come on. Like, there's awesome ones here. Skylinks? Jesus. Space shuttle, man.
Yeah, I don't know if I would want... Skylinks is kind of a bastard. He's very arrogant.
Yeah, but he's smart, and his bottom half is a kitty.
That's very true. That is very, very true.
I'd probably stick with like a car or a jet or something.
Yeah. Not Luna. Una and Chak are the two. It was going to drive me nuts if I didn't find it. Thank you, TF Wiki. And surprisingly, their supposed father, voiced by Gary Chalk, goes by Leader Neanderthal. He doesn't actually have a name. That's kind of sad when you think about it. How has your wife dealt with your collection?
Well, she keeps it relatively at an arm's reach, I guess. Mm-hmm. She allows it to exist in the house, which is as much as I can expect. She knows that on Sunday nights is generally the night that we podcast. So mm-hmm. She's gonna be off for Sunday nights, and she can do what she wants. And then every now and then, maybe once, twice a year, I'm gonna go away for the weekend, and she'll get the house to herself. Mm. But with TFCon Toronto for the last few years, we've gone together. We share mm-hmm. the room, and then she takes off into Toronto for some family fun without me. So it's best for her too. So it's she doesn't mind it. The fact that there's a door on this room, and I can just kind of close the door to kind of hide it all is probably the biggest thing. If it were spread out amongst the rest of the things in the house, and made it kind of a bit of a deterrent within the house, it would be a lot more difficult. But I keep it pretty contained, and that's important. There was a time in which my collecting was really hurting us financially, and we had to have a little bit more of a sit down, and but we got through that. So it was you got to have communication in a relationship,
Absolutely. So has she ever gone to any of the conventions with you, like TFCon Toronto and that kind of stuff, or does she just have no interest?
I mean, like I said, she comes to the hotel that it's held.
Right, and, yes.
But she doesn't attend. She has no interest in going into the convention just to see it. She has, she's on the last day of the convention. Generally is when we will have our podcast panel, and she'll kind of sometimes sneak into those panel rooms because those are where all the chairs are. Yeah, and she'll just kind of take a seat at the back of the room just to kind of listen and hear what's going on. But she generally has zero interest in what's going on, and that's fine. It's I think it's better to have a partner with completely different interests than you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, she's supportive and that kind of stuff, and as long as that happens, like you already said, equal things in the relationship, etc. Toy collecting can have its struggles. What is one aspect you tend to struggle with the most?
Well, it's space. I've mentioned that a couple of times, and I did mention that I had bought the HasLab Unicron. And I never even opened it. I had to sell it. So it came into the house, and then it left the house. Yep. So there was no space for it here. Yeah. It was a great thought, but I simply could not find room for it. So even when I buy a new Masterpiece scaled figure, something has to move. Something has to give up its space. Yeah. So it's gotten to the point where I cannot display everything I own at this point. There are many boxes in my basement filled with figures. Mm-hmm. So it's something that that's a daily struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, space is always going to be an issue. And again, this is why I don't think any one person, unless you're going out and specifically buying a house for your collection, which I think, like I mentioned earlier, I only know of ever one person ever doing that. But like, you have to pick and choose, like you said, and as long as you're not super emotionally attached to it, then you can make room for the next thing, kind of thing, whatever you're next interested in. What is one positive and or one negative memory you have with buying toys?
I made a lot of friends through buying toys. So, there's friends that I still have to this day who I've met just walking down toy aisles and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And we as collectors, we tend to when we're in a toy aisle, we will kind of stick to ourselves and not really say anything to anyone. But if you're observant enough, and you're in a toy aisle, if you're looking, say, at Transformers, mm-hmm. and you notice another middle-aged man also looking at Transformers,
yep.
Might be a good chance, especially if they're kind of digging through the shelf. A pretty good chance this is also another collector, right? And you may have something in common with this person. Yeah. And if you're in your hometown, maybe you can start some kind of like, collector group or something mm-hmm. like that. It's so that's been good. It's tough to kind of to reach out and do that first little introduction, but mm-hmm. it can be very rewarding once you do. A bad one, I mean, I don't really have a bad one. It's it's always the community's always very welcoming. If I had a bad thing about the community or collecting toys, mm-hmm. I guess it would just be the gatekeeping. There's a lot of gatekeeping that goes on in the communities of all of them that I'm a part of. Yeah. So you really don't want to discourage anybody new from collecting, but what I find right now is that a lot of people are getting into it because it's they think it's the new way to make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And toy collecting is not even close to that. You can't make money that way. So yeah, it's there's a lot of gatekeeping, and there's a lot of people are really trying to get into it because they think it's a way to invest their money. And you really can't do that either. When I say that, I probably sound like I'm trying to gatekeep, but I'm not. I'm just trying to warn people off. This is not a way to invest.
No, I mean, that's the thing. You're not trying to gatekeep the people. You're trying, like you said, we're here to give tips to people that may or may not want to get into this. And if you want to get into this, the ultimate tip that anyone would have for them is get into it because you like the stuff, not because you think you can make money at it. That's like we've said already in the last 2 hours, like the monetary thing of, yes, it's one aspect, but for the most of us, at the end of the day, we want the Kingdom Commander Rodimus. We want for me personally, the one Galvatron want I have is the reformatted version, so I don't have to worry about the battle damage and all that. The reformatted version, that exclusive version that was all purple, because I absolutely love that thing. And the negative thing on my side is, like, and this is just the way the Funko community is, sadly. I was at, it was Flocked Bullseye Target Day. It was one of their Target cons that they did. I never got the original Bullseye, because for me, like I said already, Funko Pops for me are characters that don't have like the Target dog. When's he ever going to have a toy? No, Mattel isn't going to make one. Hasbro, none of that. So, okay, Funko, great. I never got the original one. So they released a flocked version. Okay, it's the exact same thing except it's a little fuzzy. Okay, it's a dog. It's supposed to be fuzzy. Hello. But I remember the day that those released, me and about 6 other guys were standing outside of Target, and I just kind of looked over at a couple of them. I said, "You guys here to get the bullseye?" They're all like, "Yup." I've never moved so fast in my life. Bullet trained to the electronics department in Target. Like, I didn't push anybody over, but like, I made sure I was the first one there. Because sometimes with the Funko Pops, they don't all, especially exclusives, because there is a huge thing in the toy company aspect. At some point, I keep saying this, and maybe I'll have you on as one of the guests for this. I want to do a topic on this podcast talking about exclusivity exclusions, where the exclusiveness of whatever toy it is basically kicks you out of even getting a chance to have it, kind of thing. So yeah, that's but like you said, mostly it's positive. Mostly, you make deals with people. You find, like, if you're going on eBay and you're searching for whatever you're searching for, and as long as you're willing to pay that price, and as long as you pay the person and the person actually sends you what they're supposed to send you, and you don't end up on a episode of Judge Judy, then hey, everything's gravy, Yeah. If you could create, so if Hasbro gave you the keys to the kingdom, you could create any toy, what would you want to create?
They're doing a really good job right now, putting out stuff that is pretty wild. So I don't know.
Honestly, and this is all your fault, I want a repainted taco tank to imitate the 86 squid. Like, seriously, like, I look at that thing and I'm like, they could do it. All they got to do is just repaint it. Like, they don't, like, just take the old toy, somebody repaint it to look like the thing in the movie, give it a little ink spot, and there you go.
Yeah, I don't know. They've been doing a lot of good stuff right now recently, and other than the aforementioned DJD that they haven't been able to really do because it's just they're not doing a gun or they're not doing an electric chair.
Yeah.
But they're going to do Tarn now, so there doesn't seem to be anything off the table.
Nope.
Will they do a Cybertron? Will they do a new Primus? That kind of thing. Maybe they will in the next HavLab project. The Unicron seemed to be the big guy that everyone kind of wanted. It took a little bit of massaging to get it to happen. Yeah. But Cybertron might not be the project to kind of go into next. But I would, maybe if I had the keys to the city, what I'd want to see? I'd want to see a reissue of G1 Overlord, because that's a figure I want, but I don't want to spend the money on a brand new one. So that's what I'd want. G1 Overlord reissue.
Interesting. Yeah. Now, would you want that to be specifically reissued from the original toy, or would you want it to be comic accurate?
Original toy.
Yeah. They can always repaint and do, and like they've already done Unicron. Why can't they just do a slight bit of retooling on Unicron and make Primus? Like, that would be interesting. What is the one piece of advice you would give the toy collecting fandom in general?
That is another one from the last one.
Yep.
Just, don't collect for value. Collect because you like it, and patience. Really, you gotta be patient. It's you'll. Right now, we seem to be in an era of everything is crazy valuable. Nostalgia is key again. It has a lot of feelings like the early 90s, but there's no product out there to support it.
Yeah.
So things feel like they're super, super valuable and super collectible, but so everyone's out there trying to amass all these collections and then trying to flip them really quickly because, they're worth a bunch. And, but it's not, you gotta put your time in, right? You gotta wait. So yeah, it's all about patience. And we talked about this on the Transformers one that we did, but when people find, stuff on the shelves and they talk about seeing it and they say, finally, I found this, and it's only been out right for 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Right. Like people got to settle down. It's wave one is always the first wave to kind of sit around and to start to peg warm. And then they kind of, they'll start to sort wave one into the rest of the wave. Right. There's already talk that, Cosmos will make it into additional waves, and start being a little bit more available. Right. Yeah. So, if he's not, then, well, then everyone else is in the same boat as you are. We're all kind of stuck, but, if he is, then, the people out there that are spending $80 to $100 on a Cosmos, they're screwing themselves, right? They've got this FOMO, and don't fall for the FOMO, right?
There's a guy. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, and with Transformers, as well as any other toy line, G.I. Joe, Star Wars, anything like that, any of them, they're always going to do another version of that character, right? Always, especially the big ones, right? There's always going to be another Luke Skywalker figure. There's always going to be another Duke figure. There's always going to be a transforming Optimus Prime figure. Always. Always, always, always. If you cannot find it, wait, and there'll be another one. Probably better, or with less damaged paint. That's what they did to screw all of us last year. So,
yes. Yeah, there's always going to be something, and like everyone says to that question, just everybody calm down. And it's funny because we're talking about this now, and eventually I'm hoping to get this guy on here. There's a guy in the Funko community called Dr. Applesauce. And as of this recording, New York Comic Con is kind of fresh in everybody's mind and everything else. And there was a Funko exclusive for that convention where the prices on eBay were like $1,900 and by 5 days later, it's gone down to like $250, and he's doing the same thing you're doing, saying, don't give in to the fear of missing out. Fear of missing out should not be a thing, even though it is, but all of that. So yeah, people, don't give in to the fear of missing out. Whatever you're wanting to get, you will get eventually. And the final question, which was not on the previous one, what is advice?
I have a tip. I have a tip for people who with fear of missing out. Okay. Right. So this what is it? What was this Dr. Applesauce he's talking about? What's this thing?
It's
it a Funko?
Yes.
The Funko
yes.
So this item, whatever it is, right? So for people who are looking for this item, right? If most of these people are going to have a phone, if not everyone is going to have a phone, right? You take a note in your phone and say, note, this item is right here. You put your date in alongside it. It doesn't even have to be a fancy note, just in your freaking notes, pad, right? And you put the note in there. 6 months after you've written this note, then you look on eBay for it. Right? Actually, you can put a bunch of details with this note as well. Like you could put what it's selling for when you make the note, right? But 6 months afterwards, right? You can even put a reminder in your phone to look for it, right? Because you wanted it super, super badly, right? Because the FOMO is strong. It it really does pull you, right?
Yeah.
So put that reminder to say, oh yeah, I wanted to look for X on eBay just because I wanted to see. There was a comic book that I wanted that had Elsa Bloodstone on the cover. She was just in this Werewolf by Night special that was on Disney Plus. And when the book came out, it happened to have her sister in it as a first appearance, and I was like, oh well, shit, this is no good, and I missed it. So, and they're like, well, this sister may appear in an upcoming thing, and I'm like, oh well, crap. So this book jumped up to like $45 instantly. Yeah. I'm like, well, I'm not paying $45 fucking dollars for this comic book when I just want the picture that's on the cover, right?
Yeah.
So I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and maybe about a month and a half ago, I sent a guy on eBay an offer, and I said, he's asking like $30 for it. And I said, look, I'll give you $15 for it. And he took it. So I'm like,
exactly.
The book is $5, right? I said, look, I'll pay you $10 extra for this fucking thing, right? And he took it. So, yeah. So if you wait, sometimes you're going to lose. Something might happen and you will lose, and the thing will shoot up and it'll be crazy valuable. And you'll just say, look, I should have bought it at the time. But most of the time, I'm going to say 75% to up to 90% of the time, you are going to make out like a bandit because those prices will come crashing down.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to get what you want. Or 6 months down the road, you'll think, why the hell was I after this thing so badly?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so the Funko Pop, and I have zero interest in this because it's not a franchise I follow, but it's One Piece, Luffy with Going Merry, and it's one of the pop rides. So it's it's Luffy on some ride, and that's what he was talking about as far as like, don't give in to the FOMO, because when it was like, he made 2 videos on this, and he basically said when it initially went up, because people were at the convention, people were listing it on eBay for $1,000 or best. Why would you list something for $1,000 or best offer? Like, cause whatever. But as he was tracking this, and as the days progressed, it went down to $450, $350, $250, and it's a Funko Pop ride. So general Funko Pops, the 4-inch Pops, range anywhere from $10 to $20. The Pop rides, maybe $24.99 US. The larger ones like Unicron and Soundwave and Optimus Prime and all that, those are usually $40. So this thing is probably somewhere between $20 and $40 MSRP, and people are willing to pay like over $1,000 for, and I'm not there. Like, I love Funko, I love the characters that I love that they've done, but I will never ever be that, like, that. No. Even if it wasn't Funko, if it was a normal toy, like if it was the very last G1 Optimus Prime that is ever in existence from 1984, I still wouldn't pay $1,000 for that.
No.
So, it is what it is. All right, final question. What is advice you'd give to kids who enjoy toys?
To show them to other kids, to enjoy them with other kids, to pass it along.
Yep.
And to not be precious about them. I'm guilty of keeping everything all caged up and being super precious about them. But when I get the opportunity to play with my son with the toys, I take it and I enjoy it. So as he gets older, I'm scared to death that he's going to come in here and bust up all my cool shit. But it's, I'm going to.
That's when you worry about the value.
You have no idea how scared I am of a toddler coming in here and destroying my stuff while I'm at work. So yeah, it's a real fear.
Yeah.
But the joy of playing with toys through the eyes of a kid again is really here. And I'm very much looking forward to that. So for kids who still play with toys, put them on put them in the hands of other kids, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Show your friends why you think this is cool, and don't be scared to be a fan of toys. They are cool. If you like Transformers, right? And somebody says, well, I really don't, if you want to say, well, I like Transformers, and you say, well, and if a friend says, well, I really don't like Transformers, you can say, well, I actually really like their engineering, or I really like how they transform. I don't watch the show all that much. I just like how they turn into different things, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to be into the cartoon to like the toys, right? Yeah, I got into them with the toys first, and then the cartoon came second, and then the comic came way later. So yeah, you can kind of work it differently, but getting them into the hands of more kids is key, because we as collectors can keep them all to ourselves and keep them very precious and close to our chest. But it's like I mentioned earlier, it's going to go nowhere if these don't get into the hands of kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Most definitely. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick ad break. You're going to hear some ads and some other stuff, and we will come back to close the show after this.
Discover a world of vintage and modern toys that's more than meets the eye with the Triple Takeover Toycast.
Hosted by toy writers and photographers Toybox Soapbox, 60 and TF Square 1, this informal and chilled out series of discussions cover everything from vintage Transformers to Mask, Diaclone, Microman and more, be it nostalgic or current.
Whether you're a seasoned collector or a casual robot enthusiast, all are welcome.
Triple Takeover Toycast.
Kid? Yes. Shut up.
Beyond the Night is the GCRN's latest review podcast. We are covering everything in the Knight Rider television universe, from the classic 80s TV series to the 1991 reunion film, Team Knight Rider, and the 2008 relaunch series as well. So join TFGMike and Dion the Music Man as they go in depth and Beyond the Night, only on Geekcast Radio Network. You can find Beyond the Night in iTunes and on www.geekcastradio.com.
Kid?
Yes, Michael.
Just keep driving.
Like science fiction? Of course you do, or you wouldn't be listening to the Geekcast Radio Network. Well, the Mark Who 42's Universe podcast is an award-winning sci-fi radio show that's been around for over 10 years. We cover everything from Doctor Who to the MCU to pop culture and everything in between. A new show drops on Tuesday mornings on the GCRN website and all of the major podcast platforms. So listen to the Mark Who 42's Universe podcast, from the universe and beyond.
You are receiving a transmission from the Rod Pod. Upload pending.
Stand by for soundtrack transfer.
I am Maggie.
And I am John.
And we are trapped, hurtling through space in a ship shaped like Rodimus's head.
The ship, for reasons we haven't been able to determine, contains the entire run of the IDW Transformers Phase 2 comic, which chronicle the events following the end of the war between the Autobots and Decepticons. So we figure we may as well read them all in order and report our findings to you.
Stand by. Stand by.
Upload complete. Now.
The Rod Pod. Look for us at marriedwcomics.libsyn.com, at iTunes, at Stitcher, or wherever good podcasts can be found.
So, till all are one.
Till all are one.
Till all are one.
Do you like retro cartoons?
then Saturday Morning Rewind is the podcast for you. Join them each month as they talk about classic cartoons and interview legendary voice actors like Jim Cummings.
I am the terror that flaps in the night.
Corey Burton.
Sometimes toys can be so flighty.
Rob Paulson.
Sure, Brain, but how are we going to find chaps our size?
Nancy Cartwright and many more.
Eat my shorts.
So grab a bowl of Lucky Charms.
They're magically delicious.
Put on your hammer pants. Go to SaturdayMorningRewind.com. And be prepared to feel like a kid again. Once again, that's SaturdayMorningRewind.com. Saturday Morning Rewind was voted Best Podcast Ever by its host, Tim Nidell. So it's gotta be good.
Hello, all sentient beings. Want the latest on everything going on in the Transformers multiverse? Check out the Transmissions Podcast Network. We've got weekly podcasts covering everything from Alpha Trion to Omega Supreme. From old school G1 all the way up to Cyberverse and beyond. And you don't want to miss Empire of Rust, the world's first and only Transformers live play role-playing game podcast. If you love Transformers, there's something for everyone at transmissionspodcast.com.
Die-cast construction. It's a lost art.
All right, folks, we are back, and you just heard Darryl the Cybertronian Beast's toy story in toy collecting. You are one of the team members over at Transmissions. What's going on with Transmissions?
Oh, we're still lugging away and producing 2 shows a week. But if you are a Donatreon, or that's how we refer to our Patreon patrons, we are producing some exclusive content for those people, and you should be getting one exclusive show a week, and then there's also the Empire of Rust show, which is the live play RPG, and there's also the We Like Big Bots. That's Dr. Pants and myself doing. That's one of the Patreon exclusive shows.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's the show where Dr. Pants and I just we grab a character and the figures associated with it, and we just kind of go nuts for about half an hour. So it's pretty fun. Yeah, so that's generally what's going on with us.
Awesome. Very cool. Where can the people find you online, sir? Social media, if you want to give it out.
So I mean, we've got you can find the whole show over at transmissionspodcast.com. But me personally, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Cybertron Beast. So you can head on over to those. And I generally use Twitter a lot more. And so Twitter is mainly my vehicle. Instagram, I do as much as I can, but I do throw a few other different things out there. So I post some comic stuff over there, and I post some toys and some other wackadoo things over there too. So yeah, but mostly it's just Twitter for me. But so Cybertron Beast should get you to me.
Very cool. All right, folks, as always, I have no idea what's coming up next on this show. It could be a display case, it could be a toy topic talk, it could be another Origins episode, no clue. And we are winding down for the year for 2022, and we may take a couple of weeks off. I'm not sure. I've tried since I brought the show back from episode 100. This is episode 161. So yeah, I brought the show back last year. We've done 61, 62 episodes since I brought it back, and I'm not sure what's coming up next. But thank you for joining us here on Toycast. If you'd like to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show, there are several ways to do so. Visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can listen to and comment on all of our content. Send an email to feedback@geekcastradio.com. You can check us out on any podcasting platform you prefer, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, whatever it is that you use. For us on Twitter, it's at Geekcast Radio for the network, at TF Toycast for the show, because originally, back in 2009, when the late, great Optimus Scourge, myself, Proto Man, General Techno, and a couple other people started this podcast, it was actually Transformers Toycast, and we only talked about Transformers, and somewhere like year 3 or year 4 of the show, we're like, nope, we're going to open it to everything. So it just became Toycast. I am at TFGMike on Twitter. Become a fan on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/Geekcast Radio Network. You can also check out TF Toycast over there as well. For now, I am TFGMike with
the Cybertronian Beast.
Join us next time when we will be talking more toys here on Toycast.